Hello everyone, welcome to another lesson. So in this lesson we are working on assignment 5.2 and the skill builder 5.2 properties of function. You have few important definitions before starting, so you should go through this definition. First one, what is a domain? Domain is a set of first element of a relation. For example, this is a relation and it is expressed in the form of an arrow diagram. So the first set of elements 5, 6, 9, 11. So they are known as domain. The set of related second elements of a relation is its range. Okay. So over here I have baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, volleyball. So these elements are known as range. So you will be asked to identify the domain and range of any relation from different form. And the most important term of this lesson is known as function. So function is a special type of relation where each element in the domain is associated with exactly one element in the range. So this is very important. Let's look at the example. This is my domain, this is my range. 5 is associated to basketball. 6 is associated to hockey and volleyball. So as per the definition of function, a function is a special type of relation where the elements of domain is associated with exactly one element in the range. But here 6 is associated to 2 elements in the range, okay, which means this is not a function. So go to the example number 1. Your first task is to identify the domain and range. So look at the first question. A relation that associates 5 foods to the food group to which they belong. So I have the ordered pair given here: orange, fruit; cheese, dairy; broccoli, vegetable; milk, dairy; kiwi, fruit. First element is known as domain. So my domains are orange, cheese, broccoli, milk, kiwi. So these are my domain. So this is how you are supposed to write the domain. So you have to use this bracket, list the elements separated by comma: orange, cheese, broccoli, milk, kiwi. And remember, if any terms are repeated, you don't need to repeat that when you're writing the domain and range. Now we have range: fruit, dairy, vegetable, again we have dairy, and fruit is also repeated. So you don't need to say dairy and fruit twice. Therefore my range is fruit, dairy, vegetable. Now your second question, decide whether the relation is a function. Okay, so we have the definition of function over here. A function is a special type of relation where each element in the domain is associated with exactly one element in the range. Okay, so this part is important, which means each domain term should be associated only one element in the range. If your relation is expressed in the form of ordered pair, so what you need to check, is there any domain term repeated? Orange, cheese, broccoli, milk, kiwi. None of these terms are actually repeated. So each ordered pair has a different first element, therefore the relation is a function. Here my second relation, which is given as a arrow diagram. You can see the number 6 is associated with the 2 terms in the range, which means this is not satisfying the condition of a function. Since there are 2 arrows from 6 in the first set, the relation is not a function. So you have to check how many arrows are originated from each elements in the domain. Now we can go back to your assignment question, question number 1. So you have a similar question given here. You have an arrow diagram here, and check whether any elements are connected to elements in the range twice. So if it is connected, that is not a function. And over here you have to write the reason in your own words why this is not a function, and state whether it's a relation. So the relation is a function or is not a function. Okay, so you have to write accordingly. And subquestion B, over here the ordered pair is given, and check whether any first elements, the domain elements, are repeated, then it is not a function. If none of them is not repeated, then it is a function. Question 2, you have to list the domain and range over here from question 1. And question 3, so here the table shows Alberta speeding fine for different speeds in 60 km per hour zone. So you can see the speeds in kilometer per hour and their respective fine. The first question, why is the relation also a function? Which means none of the domain elements are repeated. Now you can go to example number 2. To answer the subquestion B, you have to go to example number 2. Subquestion B, identify the dependent variable and the independent variable. So this question is connecting between the number of minutes and the corresponding cost for the cell phone plan. So more the time you are using, you have to pay more. So here the dependent variable is the cost, because it depends on the number of minutes that you have used, and n is the independent variable. The same way you have to answer question number 3b, identify the dependent variable and the independent variable. So here we know that the fine depends on speed, fine f depends on speed, f is the dependent variable and s is the independent variable. And after this you have to write the domain and the range. Now you need to go back to example number 3 in your skill builder. So here you have a equation p equal 5n plus 30. So this equation can be expressed as a function notation. So that is your first question. Describe the function and write the equation using function notation. So the function notation is not a complicated thing. This is a different way of representation. And here we know that the value of p depends on n. When the value of n changes, for example n equal 2, the p have a different value. When n equal 3, p will have another value. So p varies with n. So we can write like this: p is a function of n, and we call it as p of n. And this doesn't mean that we are multiplying p and n. So this is just a way of representation. It's not a multiplication. Don't confuse with that. Okay. So p of n equal, rewrite the right hand side without any change, 5n plus 30. That's it. So this is known as function notation, and this is known as equation. Okay. So the function notation is given here, and you can substitute for n. If you are substituting n equal 8, that is p of 8. P of 8 equal, so you just need to replace n with 8. Okay, so p of 8 equal 5 times 8 plus 30. 5 times 8 is 40. So 40 plus 30 equals 70. Now go back to question number 4 in your assignment. So here the equation is given and you have to express it as a function notation. And here the variable is s. When s changes, p will also change. So p of s equal to s plus 15. The same way you have to write the function notation of the second equation, y equal negative 3x plus 5. And over here, question number 5, here the function notation is given and you need to write the equation. So d of t equal 4t minus 7. Therefore d equal 4t minus 7. Same thing for the question B. And again, question 6. Here the function notation is given. P of n equals 7n minus 18. So you have to calculate p of 3. So what do you just need to do? Just replace n with a 3. That is 7 times 3 minus 18. So the remaining part is you have to calculate. The remaining part is you have to evaluate this 7 times 3 minus 18. Same thing here. You have to calculate p of 8. So that's everything for today. I hope my explanations are clear, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you.